Man has the power to develop every state of consciousness. We all possess within us the power to unfold and develop to the greatest perfection every state of consciousness. In fact, most of mankind manifest them all in some degree. The law under which we work in the physical and mental states of consciousness is the law of force. On the physical plane, this law is expressed purely as brute force. Whoever is the strongest physically is the most successful in this state of consciousness, whether he be man or animal. On the mental plane, the expression of the law of force is more refined. In this state of consciousness, men make others do their bidding through the developing and controlling of physical force by the intellect. The prize fighter or wrestler who has only physical strength stands no show whatever with the man who, even though of less physical strength, has developed his intellect and learned how to unite it harmoniously with his physical, while the machine, the product of man's intellect, can do the work of 100 physical men and do it far better. In the world of business and finance, the same truth prevails, and the man who has the sharpest and most developed intellect is the one man who has the greatest force in the purely intellectual state of consciousness. The law which prevails is the soul and spiritual states of consciousness, is the law of harmonious attraction, the law of love. This is a most wonderful law, although the words that symbolize it seem so simple. They are simple to us only because we have seldom or never seen beneath their purely intellectual interpretation. When we open ourselves to the inspiration of this law of harmonious attraction and begin to study its operation by nature, we see that it is really the only law which nature or God uses throughout the universe. The Earth is held to its orbit in its journey around the Sun through this wonderful law of harmonious attraction. The Sun throws out its great beautiful love nature into space and entwines its arms around old Mother Earth, bringing life and vitality with every vibration, while the Earth nestles and cuddles in the arms of the Sun, evolving and developing the life within and upon it in this loving embrace. The Moon in its orbit around the Earth is held under the same law of harmonious attraction, and all mankind together with the things in all other kingdoms are held in the arms of old Mother Earth under the same law of love or harmonious attraction. The seed, when planted in the ground under the same law of harmonious attraction, sends its tiny rootlet down into the earth in order that it may be sure of a permanent supply of moisture, and its stem peeps out from under the clods, attracted there from the negative forces which surround it, in order to obtain the sunshine and rains and dews which are so necessary to its life and development. Everywhere we look, we can see some manifestation of this law of harmonious attraction in nature. So let's go on to look at how most persons have gained success. The world has not had held before it many shining examples of success, financial or otherwise, by those who have obtained it under this law of harmonious attraction. The success achieved by man has been largely the result of the use of the law of force, and that is why it has not been permanent in most cases, though through the intellectual and instinctive states of consciousness, and the world has therefore believed that the law of force was the real law of success. The masses are like a lot of sheep and borrow their behavior from the few. In the matter of getting money, they are like chickens about to be fed. A pan of food is placed in the center of the chicken yard, and the chickens come running toward it from all directions. The half dozen which reach it first grab something and start off on a run. The rest of the chickens, instead of going to the pan where the source of supply is, and where there is an abundance of the food they want, they run pell-mell, helter-skelter, after the few chickens that have carried away with them only a small portion of the abundance of supply. The masses, like the chickens, instead of going to the source of the abundance of supply and creating something for themselves from the formless energy, spend their time running after the few who have related with abundance and who have money, and in devising schemes to relieve them of it, never once realizing that people and things are only instruments in the hands of God, the great universal law, to give to us just what we have created for ourselves, and that it is impossible for them to give us anything else. We see the truth of this manifested many times when we try to help others but cannot do so. Something always intervenes and prevents it. The method we use do not affect our ability to obtain wealth or success temporarily, but they do affect our ability to retain them permanently. The world has not yet come into a realization that everywhere around us is this vacant space, as we call it. There is a live, vital, seething mass of energy, far more vital and powerful than anything man has yet harnessed in material form, and to which he may go and draw from it an eternal abundance of everything he wants. While it is true that this vital substance is invisible to the physical sight, yet it is nonetheless true that it exists. Just as the electric fan revolving at a speed so rapid we cannot see it, yet when the current is shut off and the vibrations of the fan lowered, it begins to materialize and we can see it with our physical eyes. So with this invisible substance, when we relate with it constantly and persistently in our consciousness, in accordance with the image we have built and hold in our imagination, we set up a strong, powerful vibration with our thoughts. And under the law of harmonious attraction, the atoms of this invisible substance with which we relate in our thought world begin to lower their vibrations and finally become materialized in form around us. There is only one substance in the universe, and it is from this one substance that everything which we have ever materialized in form on the objective plane has been derived. This once substance may be differentiated into the myriads of material things we have had in the past, have now, or which we may create in the future. The differentiation being occasioned by the difference in the rate at which the atoms composing the material form vibrate. When we understand this truth and use our intuition to create as limitless a vision as we can of the thing we want, our inspiration to increase our own bodily vibrations and relate us with the more rapid vibrating currents on the unseen side of life, and our intellect to hold fast to this vision and inspiration will have then effective a combination which, with these faculties working together in perfect harmony, will be able to reach out into the formless energy and attract the gold of the universe to us and differentiate it into form any time we may desire. Now, do not misunderstand me and get the idea that I either believe or teach that in our present state of consciousness it would be possible for any of us to sit with folded hands with a blank negative state of consciousness and have a few $1 million drop into our laps from out of the blue sky. What I do mean is this, that through the operation of this law of harmonious attraction, we can make ourselves so full of the attractive power that over perfectly normal lines of transference on the objective plane and in perfectly legitimate ways, old lines of transference will be increased, new ones opened up, and our earning capacity be increased way beyond what we have heretofore thought possible. And all this because people will want and love to do business with us rather than with those who try to make them through the use of inharmonious law of force. Under the law of force, we are never sure of being able to retain what we do get. There is always the fear that we may make some unsafe investment, or that we will have something stolen from us, or that someone stronger or more powerful than we, or someone sharper, smarter and less honest than we are will take it away from us, or that we will lose it in some way, or that whatever we do will be the wrong thing to be instead of the right. This fear is well founded too, because we can only retain a thing under the same law we obtain it. When we live under the law of force, we always find someone, sometime and somewhere who is able to use this law more effectively than we can, and what we have obtained under it begins to leave us. A Wall Street man once came to me with this story. He wanted to buy a property in New York. The price and terms had been satisfactorily agreed upon by both parties, but the agent who was conducting the sale wanted the owner to pay him a larger commission than agreed. This the owner refused to do, and the purchaser's contract expiring in the meantime, the owner immediately sold the property to another party at a big advance in price. This man did not learn until it was too late why his agent had not completed the sale. He had lived under the law of force all his life, and so the universal law gave him what he had created for himself and took away at the very last minute this opportunity to make money through no fault of his, he said. Later on, this same man leased a property for hotel purposes and engaged another party to manage it. Through a combination of circumstances and conditions made possible only through the inharmony he had created under the law of force, his manager surreptitiously obtained a new lease in his own name and ousted the employer from possession. This same man owned a property in process of development for which he was offered and refused $300,000 in cash. Later on, through the men who managed the corporation, but who only held enough stock by his permission to qualify as officers, he was sold out and only realized about $40,000 from the wreck. Luck, you say? Well, luck is only the effect of the energy we create in consciousness, and it is for each and every one of us to say whether this effect shall be good or bad luck. Under the law of harmonious attraction, it is always good luck and remains so. Under the law of force, as long as the force we use is stronger than that used by others, we have good luck temporarily. But the fear that we will lose what we have is well grounded, for some day we run up against someone who uses the law of force better than we, and our money melts away like dew before the morning sun. These are only a few of the negative registrations of the law of force in this man's life. For 4 years prior to coming to me, this man had been having a hand-to-mouth existence and had about completely lost his courage. He was under my care and instruction for nearly a year, and in that time financed one big deal and got 2 other large ones underway, aggregating considerably more than the first one, and so far his profits have brought him $250,000. All this came to him under the law of harmonious attraction, and through his consciously building for it under this law. He ceased to fight for anything, knowing, as he looked back over his life, that resistance and resentment create an energy which is always destructive, and that it is far better to let go of everything which can be held only under the law of force and use the energy towards creating something else under the law of harmonious attraction. Under this law of harmonious attraction, all fear disappears, for we know that this law is stronger and more powerful than is the law of force, and that it is impossible for anyone working under the law of force to take anything away from us unless we first create the destructive energy in our own consciousness, which permits the universal law to use them as such destructive instruments in our lives, and that those who are working under the law of harmonious attraction will not want to take anything away from us. We know that what we have created for ourselves under the law of harmonious attraction is our own, for it came to us harmoniously and constructively, and because the other fellow wanted us to have it, and so we can keep it as long as we want it.